Hey, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists, a warm welcome to the Flagship Bangalore Summit. And we are going to look at the fascinating topic where Industry 4.0 and its powerful integration is helping on the digital and the physical world, right? So how the digital technologies are going to bring the new emerging technologies at the forefront. So in this era, of rapid technological advancements, Industry 4 represents a groundbreaking revolution where digital technologies seamlessly integrate with the industrial processes, transforming the way we work, we train, and we operate. Right? So within this transformative landscape, AR and VR technologies are revolutionizing training methods, how it was done traditionally with the pen and paper in a conference room in a physical setup. So how it helps with this new environment, with the new technologies to improve the productivity, improve training outcomes, and cost savings in the industrial sector. So we have brought together an esteemed panel of the AR who are at the front of this, leading from the front, and we'll cover a lot of real-world examples and examine how this impacts the real productivity on the ground, and what are the challenges the enterprises and the corporates are facing right now, and how do we delve in the future possibilities of this exciting domain. So without further ado, let us embark on this enlightening journey together and discover how AR, VR tech are shaping the future of industrial setting. I would welcome Shyam and Kamal. Okay, so I will start and we have Dr. Anil Kumar joining us from the Zoom. Welcome you, Dr. Anil.
Good morning, everyone.
So let's all begin with the introductions. Dr. Anil, can you go first?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Dr. Anil. I'm a fellow at TE, and I'm an alumni of Indian Institute of Science. I'm working in TE past 8 months. Earlier to TE, I was in Dover and heading R&D. And earlier to that, I was in Honeywell as a fellow and also director for learning and talent transformation. I started my career at Indian Institute at ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, in a radar project. And I did my PhD from Indian Institute of Science. So I live in Bangalore. That's brief about me.
Thanks, Dr. Anil. Kamal?
Hello, everyone. Very good morning. This is Kamal. I'm working as a portfolio manager in Bosch Global Software. I come with overall close to 18 plus years of experience in IT and engineering space. Prior to Bosch, I was working at Tech Mahindra and L&T Technology Services. I'm basically an aerospace designer turned into AR/VR specialist. Over the last 8 years, I've been associated with technology, helping customers leverage this technology and get benefited. So excited to be part of this panel discussion today. Looking forward to it.
Thanks. Shyam?
Yeah, hi, thanks, Harvinder. Good morning, everybody. Happy to be on the panel. My name is Shyam Rajan. I run a company called VY Voxel that specializes in AR and VR and other visual computing areas. Prior to founding this company, I was with GE for many years. Used to be the CTO of the healthcare division here in Bangalore and have worked as part of the research group as well. Prior to that with Philips. My PhD is in computer science, mostly in 3D graphics and medical visualization. So I got into AR about 8 or 10 years back and been very excited to see the progress that the technology has made over the last few years and has reached a stage where we're actually sitting on a panel and discussing it. I would have never imagined this 10 years back when we were sitting in some small lab somewhere, but it's great to see the advances that have happened and look forward to seeing another couple of decades of growth in this technology. So
Great, thanks a lot. Thank you all. Let's begin. So Dr. Anil, from the Industry 4 context, right? So what does Phygital mean and how does it blend physical and the digital aspects of industrial processes? Do you want to comment on that?
Yes, I would like to. Thank you. Uh, Say, leveraging digital technology, enhance and optimize physical operations is one of the critical things. So it also enables us to use data-driven insight, connectivity, automation, and technology to improve efficiency, productivity, and decision-making across various industrial domains. AR/VR plays a significant role in the physical and digital integration and in the, integration or in the industrial process. AR overlays digital information on physical environment while VR immerse users in a completely virtual environment. AR/VR contributes to training and education, interactive training, remote assistance, improves collaboration, reduces downtime, design and prototyping, maintenance and repair, provide contextual information to the technicians, reduces error, and data visualization and analytics becomes very critical. Make data-driven decision in real time. In summary, AR/VR technology benefits industrial process with improved efficiency, reduced error, enhanced work safety, optimized maintenance, and better decision making in the real time. So that's the experience I have, and I would like to share that.
Thank you. Kamal, so when we hear about what a Phygital is, right, and how it brings together the latest modern technologies, AR, VR, on the shop floor, so what do you say about how this basically can be integrated on the shop floors or to make the industrial training programs or enhancing the learning of those operators or other workforce which is on the front line?
Yeah, Harvinder. So I think what we have learned, the organizations are looking towards AR, VR technologies or immersive technologies there are many reasons, but some of the reasons, what stands on the top is mainly three. One is, growing knowledge gap at the factory floor, which is driven by aging workforce, retiring workforce, and there is a huge churn out happening at the factory floor. So you need to onboard your resources faster. So you need to have methods and techniques enabling you to train your workforce faster and deploy them on the job. So we may have to look at training them on the job as well. That is one of the reasons. Second thing, most importantly, modern manufacturing, it is becoming more and more complex. Your workers have to deal with complex machinery, complex manufacturing procedures, so as your training also has to cope up with, to enable your workers to do so. That is the number two. Number three, inefficiencies in the traditional ways of training and helping them operate at the factory floor. So most of them, they use paper manuals, which is not sufficient for your factory floor per worker to be productive enough to meet the demands and to be ready for Industry 4.0. That's what we see. When you want to embrace your journey or working towards Industry 4.0, you need also frontline 4.0, training 4.0. All these technology have to also evolve to meet the needs of Industry 4.0. These are the main reasons we see. And also, what it can deliver as a business value to customers when we embrace AR, VR, is significantly then we can derive traditional classroom trainings, if you look at. So we are not able to help them, learn by doing. Otherwise, we have seen in many industries, the production line has to be stopped or the high value physical assets have to be used for the training purposes.
Yeah.
So these things are the ones, this is how AR, VR is, I think these are the primary reasons why customers are embracing AR, VR in training point of view.
Great. So continuing on the same context of training and upskilling, right? So what are the applications, Shyam, you have seen on the ground or which you have implemented?
Yeah, so a bunch of them. I can first, leading on from what Kamal said on the manufacturing floor itself, training is a huge area where you use VR and have a completely immersive environment. So you can basically reconstruct the whole factory, the whole workflow in beautiful 3D, in good detail, so that you can actually go in and interact with it, right? So one example I can give you is virtual reality, environment, health and safety training. So now this goes for any manufacturing floor. Any floor that is reasonably certified needs to be under the OSHA guidelines. There's a whole bunch of environment, health and safety training programs that need to get done. And even if you take very simple things like LOTO, lockout, tagout. Very, very important aspect of any manufacturing or any lab as well. PPE, personal protective equipment training. So, and any of these procedural trainings, what happens is today is delivered as a classroom training, and like Kamal was saying, the effectiveness, we'll talk about it in more detail later, but you are trying to make it a lot more engaging by making people actually do the whole thing in a virtual reality environment. So then they remember more, they retain more, and the training itself becomes more engaging, the effectiveness is more. So one example I can tell you is this LOTO and personal PPE type stuff. How do you use a PPE? What are steps in LOTO? How do you isolate sources when there's maintenance happening? Simple things which can cause very, very drastic problems if not addressed. Second example I can give you is on chemical handling and unloading, and what happens if there's a chemical spill. How do you manage the chemical in a right way, unloading it into a factory and doing the right things. So these are two big examples. A third example I think is also, I can give you from the healthcare side, on remote consulting from, for example, primary healthcare center, low resource setting to high resource setting. When you have people who are not really qualified, but there is an urgent case that comes in, how can you bring in collaboratively people from a more experienced setup to come and help out and decide what exactly is to be done. So training is one, service is another, and then of course, a bunch of applications in different areas. You can, because you're creating the real world, you're basically doing, whatever you can do in the real world, you can do in VR. So the whole world is open as far as applications go, but these would be 2 or 3 specific examples that I can talk about.
So Harvinder, just to add on an automotive examples, what we have implemented at Bosch across 7 plants. So one of the example is this high volume, high speed, high accuracy machines. When we have to train the operators, they'll have to perform 8 steps in 10 seconds. Hand-eye coordination is very critical. Traditionally, the machines were stopped to train the people. Now we are able to achieve that in virtual reality. What is improving is the safety while learning and giving more confidence to those workers. They can fail any number of times in a training scenario, be more confident when they are operating, because otherwise the existing training methods were not providing that kind of efficacy and flexibility to the learners, right? So that's where there is a real benefit, tangible benefit we are seeing on the floor.
Definitely. And also we saw during
Just to
COVID
add
times.
on that,
Sorry, go ahead.
just to add on that, yeah. User experience. While designing a product, it's very difficult for us to understand the application environment and understand the user experience, how user would feel. Probably when I have this virtual thing, even though it is used as a training thing, but the designer can feel, touch and understand and feel how a user will be feeling when whatever we are designing. So user experience, understanding about that, experiencing about that, and learning and correcting, that is one other benefit. Virtually we can do it with this AR, VR technology.
Yeah. So one of another key trend which came, right, I think due to COVID or during COVID was remote working and distribution teams, right? So there is a customer site issue and the technician is to fly down from some other country, and which was not possible in those times, right? So I think that, looking at that scenario, right, how does exactly now AR or VR would help in that scenario?
Yeah, so what happens is, supposing there is some kind of a, service issue that needs to be addressed. Let's take, whether it's an automobile, doesn't matter what it is. So instead of actually sending the person to the field, you can use this technology, either augmented reality or virtual reality. In this case, augmented reality is a little more apt for it, I guess. So where, imagine somebody sitting at a remote site and looking at this issue, there is a person on the site, and the person sitting, it's basically see what I see. You can see what the person who's the expert can actually see what exactly the technician is seeing on the field. You can overlay 3D, 2D video components, documents onto what the technician actually seeing on the field. You're connected by voice. You can guide the person. So it's actually remote guidance, taking them step by step, right, to do something. Now, I can give an example from healthcare. Just replace the automobile with a patient. Replace the technician with a nurse or a junior doctor in a low resource setting. Then a senior doctor sitting in a hub can actually take the junior doctors to what the whole procedure is. At the same time, you can get all of the data, the lab data, the imaging data, all can come in the back end, can all be visualized, you can see it in 3D, you can overlay things, you can do stuff. So a real example, which I can tell you again, since you talked about COVID. So in the medical space, there is something called a pre-stroke protocol. So for some patients whom they feel are likely to have a stroke because of certain other health issues, they end up having to go every month and do a stroke checkup. So it's a preventive stroke protocol, right? So this is to avoid the person from having a stroke. So usually it's a blood test. There are some vitals which are checked. But there is a very important physical examination that gets done by a neurologist, which is basically they'll ask you to move your eyes, touch your ears, maybe look down, and there's a 5-minute physical. Now, during COVID time, nobody wanted to go to a hospital, and elderly patients, you don't want to go there. So just for this physical checkup, which is very simple because blood tests and other things can be done remotely, but just for this, you have to go into a hospital, right? So here, an AR HoloLens type solution is perfect because a patient can wear one of these, choose the doctor, and the doctor can actually ask them to do everything. There's hand tracking, there's head tracking, there's eye tracking, mouth, everything available. A great application to avoid elderly people from going into a hospital when it's needed. And after COVID now, the solution is still being used because remotely doing it reduces cost, reduces a lot of saves time. So these are examples which have happened because of a certain certain thing happening, but then it keeps continuing. So this is an example of that. Again, bunch of examples from life sciences as well, pharma, but basically remote access and helping remotely. You can think of any example and it'll work in AR or VR.
So you say remote assistance, remote troubleshoot, remote support, all are the possible use cases which you have seen getting traction after COVID.
Absolutely.
And again, there's another topic around training the people, right? So before people used to get trained, getting at one place, right, traveling all over the world. And how is that, Kamal, you see the consistency in the training programs or upskilling the people?
No, absolutely, Harvinder, just to add on, pandemic is not just initiated, but has triggered the acceleration of adopting this technology. That's how I call it. For example, remote mentoring we call, remote assistance, very much related because the beauty of it is the same solution is able to deliver multiple use cases to our customers. In an automotive aftermarket context, for example, this information is available public. Ford has deployed more than 3,500 dealerships, a remote assist solution. What it does, very simple. The technical assistance center of Ford, which is centrally located, has to help their dealerships across the world, more than 30,000 dealers. So the issues raised by these dealerships have to be resolved faster to put the back car on the road to give back delivery to the customer. So now remote assist is greatly helping them to resolve those issues faster, reduce the travel of these experts to the service stations, So that is one area. Second thing is also even OEMs are looking at approving the warranty replacements using this same solution. Once it is adopted, many use cases evolve. We learn a lot of use cases from our customers while deploying. Also remote mentoring when I take a pharma industry context, right? Again, a same solution. Pharma industry is heavily regulated for very good reasons, right? So now, whenever in a clean room setting, whenever the line changeover is happening from one batch to another, series of checks have to be performed. This is done by a designated supervisor. Now they have to enter the clean room. Again, production speed is very critical. So now how the remote assist solution combined with HoloLens, it is helping the operator who is already in the line, they can wear the HoloLens. The supervisor will be able to guide those operators how to perform those checks. They are just helping as a smart hands and legs at the line of, the site of inspection. They can even take those evidences of this inspection carried out. These evidences help them to meet the GMP compliances also, the regulatory. So as we see, when we start embarking this journey with our customers, many such use cases evolve and they see a great potential and business benefit with this.
Yeah, so I think this proves the value proposition of the solutions being offered, the need in the market for them. But when we go on the ground, right, what are the kind of challenges or barriers you see? And right, there are a lot of startups operating in the same space. So what would be your message to them?
So I can start with that. So first thing with this technology is, and I see a lot of young people also here, and since you said startup. So the first thing for anybody is to ensure that it does not just remain a shiny object. You know, this is a very nice shiny object to use in demos and show people. And so key thing is how do you ensure that this does not remain a shiny object, because it can remain like that for years and nothing can happen, and you know there can be a lot of money spent on it and no real outcome coming out of it. So a couple of things for that. One is to clearly understand customer need. What is the need? What is the problem you're trying to solve? And why is it that you're using this? So measuring effectivity. So if you're doing training, measure the effectivity of the training. See how we can improve. And a great point that you brought up, Kamal, which is learn from the customer's use cases, right? You go there, you may to implement something, but you might find something else totally, right? Do that. That is one part of it. The second piece is also to ensure that whatever solution you are creating with AR and VR, and this is a new technology, how does it integrate into the customer's existing legacy platforms? Because you can be assured when you go into a manufacturing facility, or if you go into a life sciences facility, or if you go into a healthcare facility, there is going to be data in disparate places, right? You go to a manufacturing place, you'll find parts are sitting in one database, drawings are in somewhere else, environment, health and safety procedures could be somewhere else, design control procedures are elsewhere. So when you put a solution which is pulling these things, how do you bring all of this together, and how do you integrate your system with the existing systems that the customer has so that it forms part of their workflow and they use it as part of their workflow? That's very key. So in many cases, I've seen these solutions being implemented as standalone things, and then that's what it'll stay as, standalone proof of concepts, which will just stay. So to really make it happen and to get success like what Kamal was talking about of Ford implementing it across a bunch of things and people using it on a day-to-day basis or using it for stroke evaluation on a day-to-day basis, it has to integrate into the customer's thing. And if you're in healthcare, of course, you have to accept the fact that it's a regulated industry and you have to be absolutely clear about the regulatory people. So invest in a regulatory person right in the beginning of product development. That's what, those would be three of my points too.
All right. Kamal, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think to what Sam told, one in terms of the use cases, we can always categorize to our customers what must to have, must to, can do, might do. So must do with a higher business impact and ease of implementations that we need to look at. Second thing is also involving all the stakeholders. Now if you look at AR, VR devices, they are also becoming like, there is a handheld mobile devices. Many customers or organizations are investing in this one. So this becomes another device they want to, onboard. So then mobile device management comes into play. You need to involve the IT also, cyber security also. You need to take into account the regulations of that particular industry. So we need to keep an eye on all these things and mainly focus on the use cases which are we are able to quantify through a metrics. This is the business benefit we can derive it to the customers.
True, and this becomes the change management topic, right? Because people have been operating the way for years or decades, and getting new technology on the shop floor with those people who have been habitual of doing, they know their tools, they know the machines, but getting an AR or VR headset for them and then asking them to use that either on training or on the shop floor for real operations. It's kind of a resistance or a pushback. So Dr. Anil, what are your views? How do you overcome those kind of challenges?
See, challenges, any change, there will be a lot of pushback and challenges. So especially when we are making AR, VR example training program, especially in existing setup. So we need to first assess it. Thorough assessment should be done. What is the training that you are doing, and does that require AR, VR, and how much value that AR, VR bring in, and what is the beneficial, and how does it connect with the organizational goal? So that is one thing. First, I think we need to assess it. Second thing is we need to set the goal for that. So if I do this, what is that I will achieve? What is the value that I bring in? And there should be a measurable goal for that. And then once we have that, then content development. Once we have the proper content development with accurate meeting that goal and why we are doing it, and then you can take it to management and show that, and take it to people and show that how this is the value you get, this is the benefit you get. And when we do this, also we need to do a pilot testing of the training material, because one need to understand how does the the trainee get to know or get the value out of it. One is from the business side value, other is the receiving side. How does they get the benefit of it? So user experience for the trainees. So then always when we do this, we require a certain kind of hardware, software investment will go, and we should be able to say that how much we are getting return on this investment. What is the value that we are getting? So like example, if you take a complex system, we cannot build that complex system, whichever is in the globe, we cannot bring it here and keep it and ask people to work on that. But when you have this AR, VR, at least we can take through that complex system virtually and give a feel of how does that system or how does that assembly will go. So investment wise, if you do a trade-off analysis, investment on AR, VR would be much cheaper than economical and beneficial than putting up the entire system. So once we've done this pilot and testing, then we need to get into an integration where we need to get like-minded people together or team together and drive this to take it forward. In all this, one thing I see is a safety consideration, especially when we're doing AR, VR trainings, those kind of things. So safety is one of the other critical thing, which we need to address it as a part of the uh, 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 whatever the work we do there. And then is evaluation and continuous improvement. So we may not able to do everything at one stage. So we may have to do it on an incremental basis, step by step, and improve it, and then show the value and drive it. So this is what, when you do it in a systematic way, taking everybody into confidence, having data and numbers, and showing the beneficial, I think it would be easier for us to do that change and drive the things.
Right, right, absolutely. So you spoke about how do you show the benefits on the safety hazards. You look at the productivity, you look how efficiencies are coming in, right? So people had to wait for long training duration before they can come on the shop floor. So that those kind of things can be reduced and people are more productive from day one. So Shyam, you mentioned about a couple of scenarios, right? And how do you see, right? What was the impacted productivity level from the projects you have executed?
Yeah, so from training, I can talk about in two ways. So when you do this kind of safety training or whatever, and one is, I think it's Benjamin Franklin who said, right, you tell me something and I'll forget. You show me something and I might remember. But if you involve me in something, I will definitely understand, right? So this whole concept is involving the person more. So using all senses, right? It's not just one way. Imagine if you're training, you're doing everything. You're walking through the space, you're touching, you're feeling, you're hearing, you're doing things. So that definitely has an impact on effectivity of training. There's more retention. So that is one part. The second part is how do you measure that effectiveness? So usually a lot of these training measures, effectivity is measured by a test that's given at the end of the training. At the end of the training, you have a test. And people have to pass that test, right? Otherwise, you keep on doing the training, especially if it's a safety training. If you don't pass the test, then you keep doing it until you get 80% or whatever, because you have to. So, for example, one of the measures is how many times did the person pass the first time, or how many times do they have to go back? So that's a clear measure of retention. So with this VR training, in at least few of the customers where we have implemented these projects and they have measured productivity, we find at least 40 to 45% better retention and better understanding of the training material through the test. So that is one thing. The second is the cost benefit. Cost benefit is pretty straightforward because just like Dr. Anil Kumar was saying, the whole concept, you can't bring that machine here. Otherwise, you have to fly everybody over there. So there is definitely a travel and living cost, especially today's global software and product development environment where you have plants and engineering teams all over the world, right? So everyone coming down, so there's a clear cost saving in the travel and living and all of those logistical challenges. So that is, two areas. One is on the effectiveness of the training itself, and the second is on some of the costs that are saved due to this kind of reducing travel and so on. The third and most important advantage, which you just cannot do with conventional training, is you can actually simulate the danger. Now, in a conventional training, I can only say, if you go and touch this, you're going to have a very, very bad experience in terms of getting a shock or some chemical spilling. But you can't actually show that chemical spilling to the trainees, right? And tell them, okay, go deal with it. But in this case, you can. You can simulate the leak. You can simulate the spill. You can simulate the high voltage issue or whatever that safety issue is. And you can get people to respond. So you give them an option of responding. And it could be very simple as just finding the nearest fire exit. It could be as simple as that, the response. Need not be anything fancy, but at least that, right? So you could simulate what the issue is and then get them to respond. So that's another added value that I found with this training, or at least my customers have said when they come back for repeat business, that this is what helps us, because we usually ask them, why is it that you want to do the next one? So these are some of the reasons that they give me.
So like making the shop floor more safe for the operators is what the key benefit. Yeah. Kamal, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I think since Shyam covered on the training part, let me look at the production plant in the manufacturing, right? Fundamentally, what this technology is doing, bringing the right information, right time, and the right format at the right place is what it is fundamentally doing. So that improves the productivity of the worker, because otherwise they'll have to remember a lot of work steps while they're actually performing a complex task. So this becomes a perfect companion or a co-pilot, I would like to say, for while the worker is executing their job. So in terms of depends. Many customers even seen more than 80% improvement in productivity when their existing processes are very mundane. Now, on the average, we are seeing an improvement in productivity up to 30 to 40%. So that's the kind of results we are seeing through our customer implementations.
Those are big numbers, I would say. 30-40% efficiency or savings on the shop floor will lead, and you look at this is maybe from one side. When you scale to 200 or 500 sites, obviously this becomes a huge number, and CFOs would be raising their eyebrows. Okay, so we are coming very closer. So if you guys are thinking about questions, start thinking. If not, we will be getting there very soon. Okay, so moving on. So how do you see, right? So you spoke about there's a need. People are trying it out, right? And so what would be your, right? How do you say the organizations can adopt, or how do you encourage and overcome all the resistance, challenges, or the change management? So what would be your recommendations on that, Kamal?
No, I think for customers to embark this journey, every industry we have already come across what are the high potential use cases. So that always the customers can take benefit of. Second thing, hardware has really improved. It has crossed all the barriers in terms of battery life. I have to give a real example of HoloLens. They've brought in a visor design where you can flip up the headset, so there is no safety concern. There are also assisted reality. There are a lot happening in the market. OEMs and companies are investing a lot to improve the ergonomics of these smart glasses. Second thing also, we are providing solutions which is device agnostic. So the customers can embark, if they have already the handheld devices, the mobile phones, they can start using this technology on those devices and then slowly move towards smart glasses and so on. So there are, I think what will help the customers is that look at what is relevant to their industry, with the industry example. Start small, but when you start small, think big when you want to scale up, when you find it successful.
Great. So Shyam, how do you convince, right? So let's say you have the management buy-in to go ahead and do it. And when you go on the shop floor, on the grounds, right? So those are the people who are going to be actually users of it, right? And they would be the most who would say, oh, we don't have time to learn this new, or we don't know how to use this. This is fancy tech. I know my job well, right? So how do you overcome that kind of barrier, which is at the ground most level?
Yeah, it's not easy, because one, you have to also empathize with people who are saying, I'm doing this, because this is their bread and butter, right? They've been doing it for years and years and years. And suddenly you're going and saying, okay, let's change this to something else and put on these glasses and so on. Like, I remember one of a pretty senior manufacturing person from the field on the floor telling me once, don't give me any solution where I cannot see my shoes, okay? Don't make me put some glasses where I need to see my shoes. So you know, getting them to have glasses, and again, it's about thinking ergonomically and having empathy, because now you're saying hold up tablet with 2 hands, or even place a tablet somewhere. They already have 5 monitors in front of them, one with the drawing, one with something else. So then you have to tell them, okay, by using this, I will remove 3 more monitors. You can just look at 1, not 5. If they're looking at 4 already and you say, okay, please look at a 5th one, it's not going to work. But if they're looking at 4 and you say, okay, I'll make it 2, then they say, okay, makes sense. Similarly, if you're telling them wear a glasses which is heavy, you need a power pack here, every 2 hours you go and charge it, and then if it falls and breaks, it's $5,000, be very careful, sign in a register and take the glass out. It's not going to work, right? So you have to have solutions which, so for example, and there are solutions for that, and it's our job to find those right solutions, right? You have projection mapping, for example, where you don't need any glasses, right? You can map things on. You can use mobile phones. Everybody has a mobile phone. So you can start off with small steps. There are glasses which are very ergonomically friendly. So the key thing is user empathy, right? And if you can empathize and see what the issues and solve some existing problems that they have, then they will buy into this technology. Otherwise, they will not. It's because it is their bread and butter. They've been doing it for many years, and you're saying make a change. It's difficult to make it happen unless you make it easier for them. So that would be my simple one-line answer to that.
Yeah. I think that there are a lot of options, right? So headsets, VR one for training, for simulations, and then you go on the shop floor, you can have the mixed reality headsets or the augmented reality. You don't want to use that, you still have the tablets which can use the camera and project the AR. Or you can have the, like you said, already monitors exist, 4, 5, if not 1 or 2. So you can run the web-based 3D visualization where they can run through the sequence and do it, right? So there are multiple options. So if they don't buy the first one, you can always send to the other solution. So based on their needs, absolutely. So coming to the end, so do you see any emerging trends or advancements in this technology which you believe will definitely impact this sector in coming years?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so. I can talk about it too, and I'm sure Dr. Anil and Kamal have a number of them as well. I think definitely the headset getting cheaper, smaller, using less power, and more importantly, giving you higher horizontal and vertical field of view, especially vertical field of view. That's been a challenge because when you wear the headset, you want to simulate the same field of view that the human eye has. I think it's getting there. So those pieces and then the heating, thermals, etc. So the headsets will get cheaper. That is one big area I feel. The second is, of course, 5G, connectivity coming in. That will make things very, very fast. And you can really stream content from everywhere. Third is, just like we have, we have had a cloud, where you can store data, where you can, buy compute, buy memory. We will soon start having these 3D model and streaming, 3D visualization streaming clouds, right? Like a bunch of companies like NVIDIA and many others are on that path. So that, the third one. So these three, I think, will be the tipping points, which will take from a technology standpoint, this whole thing to the next level.
Dr. Anil?
Yeah, just to add up on what Shyam was saying, the other one would be ease of use for that natural user interface. It could be like eyes tracking, voice command, gesture recognition, and intuitive. It will make more intuitive for the operations. And other than that, haptic feedback. So you need to feel real life, how it is. If something like Shyam was talking about electric shock, you should give a similar kind of a thing, not at such high potential, but just a buzz. Say that, yes, you're getting a shock there, or something like that. And AI integration to this becomes very important. I see this now when we are making a 3D model, we do a what you call digital twin of the system. That could not only be used for training or for learning, but it can be used for even predictive maintenance, predictive analytics, and those kind of things. And also, it could be a platform where we can use that AI-based simulation models, digital twins, to take it to next level. If you want to add any features, you don't need to start from the scratch. You take that as a module, refit it, rework, and get back to customer very fast. So that AI integration will take this into multiple other directions and dimension. And as Shyam was mentioning about cloud-based solution, I think that becomes a very important thing because you can have larger database at multiple places. You can deliver it, and it will be very easy for people to handle it. Some of these technologies, I think it will enable and also take it into multiple directions.
Sure. Any final pointers, Kamal?
Yeah, Harvinder, I think many of the adjacent technologies integration is already covered. I think another technology is IoT integration, viewing IoT data in a contextual setting. That is number one. I'll also cover another one is the cost of developing and implementing such technologies. Right now, there is a lot of work gone in either in terms of developing VR training solutions and so on. So how we can reduce the cost of 3D development, photogrammetry is there, generative AI is there. So many technologies who have come in newly is helping customers to reduce the cost of implementation. Even heavy lift and shift of existing work instructions to a 3D work instruction. There are several platforms available in the market, which is really reducing the cost of developing such instructions. So the customers can always leverage the latest trends available and then get started with this technology.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think if we think like this, right, you have your AR app on the tablet, you go on the shop floor, you project the camera across, you just don't see which machine is doing what, you get the operational data with the connected systems. You can look at if some wear tear is happening and you can, from there, order the part. You can get into the e-commerce of the OEM and place an order for that part. Or you can look at when is the next service, or if there is services far and the machine needs pre-diagnostics, you can create a service ticket from there, right? And bring everything, other things which you mentioned, Shyam, training for that machine, how do you operate that machine.
And also maybe 3D print the part right there and plug it in.
And then, definitely. So a lot of scope. I think we are getting there. Let's open this for the Q&A to the audience. Yes, please. Can you give the mic?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So, first of all, thanks for the wonderful sessions for all the panelists. This question is for Kamal. Kamal, I think you talked a lot on the remote assistance part, right, from the AR, VR perspective. But what about the remote inspection? Is that a practical use case as far as this technology is concerned? Like on-site inspections of maybe oil rigs, building, whatever the critical case may be. Do you see this as a viable, practical use case from a commercial perspective?
No, absolutely. I think you brought in another valuable use case. Yeah. Either it is remote assist or remote inspection. So I talked about pharma industry example, right? Yeah. Actually, a supervisor doing a remote facility inspection, for instance. Yeah. What is more important is not just about video audio collaboration. When we talk about remote inspection, what we often combine is, can I make an inspection report? Okay. Those evidences being captured when I do a remote inspection should be able to, that my solution should be able to generate an automatic report in the form of PDF embedded with those images and the comments. So that serves as an inspection report. That is what it's completing the value chain, I would say. Yes, remote inspection, we are getting more and more traction in these spaces as well.
Okay, and secondly, what about the cost? I think you talked about $5,000 for a battery. See, I'm very new to the AR/VR technologies. So to democratize these solutions and make sure that it is,
No, so that's what. Nowadays you have a range of solutions. Okay, there's a range of headsets. So I was talking about $5,000 is the cost of a HoloLens at some point. Okay. But you can get headsets like Google Cardboard Alphos for nothing. Of course, it's not the same. But there are different levels. So today the technology is, the headsets costs have really come down. And also today you can run AR on a mobile phone or on a tablet. You don't even need any headset. You can run it on mobile. So the option is there. You can always scale the solution up. You also have something called web AR, which you can run on the web itself. So it's not that, so the costs are coming down. Of course, you can get high-end headsets also, depending on the need. Okay. So it's very much possible. Okay. And to add to the inspection use case, one thing which is a very important thing which you was talking about is a digital audit trail. Yeah. That's what it's called in the jargon, where you do the inspection and you also give a digital audit trail where you prove that you've inspected. Okay. So that is a very important use case, because proving that somebody inspected, proving where all they went, what all they saw, what all they were shown, that coming back and explaining is a very difficult. Usually you just have a report saying, okay, check, or whatever it is, and some comments, right? But here your NCs and these things can actually be, you can say, this is what I saw, and this is the NC, here is the video, because you're seeing the whole thing, right?
So especially for bankers, before you give the mortgage loan, somebody evaluator has to go to the properties, he has to evaluate, create a report, and come back and submit to the bank. So some of those can be handled by.
And today we have AR solutions already open source free, which does measurement, AR measurement. There are free solutions where you can just point a mobile phone and measure. So for the bank thing, they come and measure the whole site, right? With the infrared thing and write and take. Those can all be automated. Yes. Automated. And with a mobile phone.
Okay, thank you.
Another angle to that is, right, so when When you are
Just to
doing
add
the
up on that,
when you're doing the
sorry, just to add,
go ahead, Dr. Anil. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry, just to add up on that, today we have an app for painting, where house painting, you could take the picture of your house and you can start coloring different color and check it which will match the background and the foreground. That's available in open app. It is available, free app. So with mobile phone or tab, we can do that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
So another angle is you link the warranty to it, right? So the OEM pays for that solution. Because they get to see what the operator or technician did exactly on the floor, right? So it is part of warranty or not.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you.
I saw some hands coming from that side. Yeah.
My question is more on the commonality across the, like for example, if you're taking the manufacturing industry, it's not necessary for each company to reinvent the solutions. Are there a lot of products, off-the-shelf products, which can be customized to the specific company needs, or what is the percentage of that, and what's the scope of that in terms of development?
Good question.
Yeah, I think, so when you look at, from a hardware point of view, there is a lot of commonality, So the smart glasses or the mobile phones, the hardware is there, so it can be used across. Even when it comes to the specific solution to each industry, we do have platforms which are able to, cater to multiple use cases. So when we talk about step-by-step instructions, it could be a 2D information which is delivered step-by-step in the right time for the worker, right? Or it can also engage a 3D element. So you don't have to develop from the scratch all those when we want to migrate the existing procedure to an AR format. So there are already platforms available which we can leverage and then reduce the cost of ownership. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lenin, and I'm very new to AR/VR. So if my question is very basic, pardon me. So recently what has happened is my parents have become very old. I come from a small village, and often they switch on the motor and forget. So water is very, very important for them. So I stay in Bangalore. I have this automated system. Whenever water level goes down, automatically the system, gets started and tank gets filled. So I wanted to replicate this at my village. So what has happened is I bought the devices from the guy here. I had the option to take him to my hometown, but it's very far. So the electrician there, does he know anything about it? So we had a video call, 4 or 5 calls, right? And finally he was able to fix it. So in this kind of real-time use case, how is the AR/VR play? I mean, can it help in these kind of scenarios?
Absolutely. This is a great use case. It can even be for something as simple as a washing machine. You buy a washing machine and you don't know how to use it. Somebody showing you. From there onwards to this. So you could do this solution with 2 mobile phones. You don't even need any fancy headsets. Somebody from here can connect to that mobile phone. They can show the equipment and then they can say, okay, put this, do this, do this. So it's definitely a use case which can be implemented. And this is exactly the remote service. We talk about jet engines and wind turbines and MRIs and all that, but it's all the same. This is exactly what remote service is. Somebody is helping someone else to do the job when that knowledge doesn't exist there. So AR is a great place for that.
In this case, the guy here will train the module in such a way that the other side guy will just follow the instructions and do exactly
just point it on the device, it shows them on the other side.
Okay.
Points it and it shows what has to be done. And from here, somebody can log in and keep explaining as well. Keep showing things.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And also check whether that the person has done it.
Yeah.
Once he finishes it, he can show it and it will be acknowledged from here.
That's the same digital audit trail, what he was talking about in the inspection. So they can send it back saying, okay, it has been done. It's, the proof is there.
See, the assumption in this case is that both of them know what they are doing, right? In this case, the assumption is the other guy doesn't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
It serves for both. That's what I brought in the case of remote mentoring. What you are talking about is remote mentoring. So I can use the same solution to mentor the other person who doesn't have the necessary expertise. Right. So the technology and the solution is there. Use cases could be multiple. Yep. So all that you're having an advanced telepresence call, which is embedded along with the augmented reality. So the technician on the field just points the camera to the equipment. So using augmented reality, will be able to train them, teach them live to do that job first time, right?
Even in medical cases, probably this will be useful, right? Somebody suddenly got a heart attack, right? And you have to address that. The other side might not be knowing.
Exactly.
Even there also it has a play, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Mike. Okay, with you first.
Yeah, I have a question. Now, I run a company where we manufacture composite panels for construction. So now what we want to do is we want to have training programs for people on how to construct using these panels. And I know, I mean, I have seen examples of AR, VR. It scares me, but I see that there probably will be good uses. Now, my question is, if I have to develop something to train people, how much does it cost? I mean, what is like an approximate thing that I have to put in my mind? Because I wanted to go to tier 3 towns and, where we can train people. So what would the investments be like for something like this? And I'm sure it is possible to do it, but how much do I have to empty my pockets?
Yeah, again, it's difficult to give a number just off the top, but without. But however, it's possible to do it at at different sets of levels. You can do it at a very high level with very high-end headsets, but you can also do it, like I said, through mobile phones. So the whole range exists, right? And at least the kind of applications that I have delivered as projects, it's not been high-end, only enterprises. It's across the board. So this is a great application. It can be easily done. It's not very difficult.
And it won't be very expensive?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No. You could do it from, like I said, there is different levels. So today, like I said, see from a hardware standpoint, a mobile phone, right? Everybody has one. So that's done, taken care of. So it's just the software that you write on it. And like Kamal was saying, there are a bunch of open source platforms and a lot of things that you can leverage to do it. So I don't think it's that complicated at all. It's very accessible, actually.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
This side.
And still bill is not being in progress, or it is still not come as an act. How is the industry sees data protection or privacy, especially when it comes to healthcare, where it is all personal sensitive data has been stored? How industry sees it as do we have any mechanism to regulate all that?
Oh, yeah.
That is my first question. Second question is that I feel FDA policies does not have any cap for investment in AR and VR especially. So I feel like a lot of foreign direct investment can come in that space. There is no way to capture that. How is that we are expecting Indian startups to experiment on that sense? We don't have much of capital. It's all that we believe in technology. We are growing a lot of things, but investment can be a challenge in that space.
Yeah, I can answer the first question first. With data privacy for healthcare, absolutely there is a complete system in place, the whole HIPAA thing, and all of that applies to AR, VR as well, no question, right? Everything that applies to all of healthcare applies to this technology also. As far as HIPAA is concerned, patient privacy is concerned, data privacy is concerned, there's no breach of any of those, right? Or rather, let me put it another way, you can use AR and VR for any existing one without breaching those, any of the patient privacy, right? So there's absolutely no need to breach any privacy of data to implement this. Okay, so that's one. On investments, I guess this is also a technology. I don't know if somebody else has a more intelligent answer, but from an investment standpoint, yeah, I don't see why investments will not come in. It can if there is. It's I guess like any other space. There is no cap on this, so you could get investments. Are you meaning specifically for software, hardware? Those areas are different. Like what space in AR, VR you want to go
I mean to
after?
say there is a competition from FDA standpoint. How is that we are expecting Indian startups to even experiment more on AR and VR? Right? We are lacking in investment in a lot of sense. We are still stepping ahead of it, but there is no cap. I feel there is a lot of competition would play a role, is what I'm saying.
I don't think.
Yeah, to add on to the the cybersecurity part, and we are also even having discussions with customers of hardening the OS. And there is all our solutions are GDPR compliant, absolutely like any other technology in place today. So AR, VR solutions also come with data protection, at rest and transit and so on. Most of these are cloud hosted. You can always bank onto the existing enterprise cloud, defense cloud, and so on. I think we are no different than any other software application being built for any mobile application, web application, so on. So I don't think that's a concern for our customers. We are able to meet those standards. I think from a market standpoint, I think when we look at India, so we are getting a lot of projects from Indian customers. That's how we see it. And it's about, for us, how do I leverage my existing product? How can I quickly scale it up for my customers? There is a market enough in India, I can say, with my experience.
Okay, so any final question from the back? Okay, Raman.
There and here, too.
Yeah, it's working. No, it is. Go ahead.
Is it something happening on the government sectors or applications? For example, very specifically, India as a country, I have never seen a truck driving school. Am I right? So I think Shyam was talking about very interesting case. You can simulate things. When somebody is driving riding a two-wheeler with a mobile phone on, a truck driver can see how he or she can. I have never seen these kind of schools in India. I don't know, this is my limitation, especially for a heavy vehicle. Is there anything happening on that side? Or is there a use case for government applications where these driving schools can use AR, VR to make sure that the driving is safe in this country?
So, I mean, I will answer this question. With education, definitely this is a very good complement for education. I will not get into that because we are often asked to put it part of your CSR. So that's a challenge I have. But otherwise, we have trained for the public sector how to drive heavy utility vehicles. So we have delivered the training for the entire vehicle, over 6 variants of it. Today is in place. All these 12 plus classrooms have the AR, VR set up in their classrooms. Everybody, all the students get trained using AR. This is already happening, I can say.
Is this in India?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Okay, thank you all. So we have reached the end of the panel discussion. I think it's fine. So we have just finished a 1 hour allocated. So maybe the panelists will be available. So for further questions, we can do it later. So yeah, so throughout this discussion, I think we dealt in the power of Industry 4 and how digital technologies are helping in integrating the industrial processes, or we heard on the healthcare processes with how AR or VR are revolutionizing this, right? So the lot of insights came from a panelist. Thanks a lot on those use cases on how they're transforming the traditional methods, making it more immersive, more interactive, getting more retention on the end user side, and giving the holistic picture of what's happening, not just in India, but also globally. And so, yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. And I hope this panel provided you all a lot of insights and a lot of key takeaways with you. And let us embrace this journey and see wherever you have, right? So if you are looking at those kind of projects in India, you have the contact of all the panelists. You can reach out, any suggestions, any questions. I think they will be able to help you all. Okay, thanks a lot. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the panelists and guests and all the audience and all the volunteers who have been working behind the scenes. Thanks a lot. Thank you all. Have a good day.